I have a motion for our human resources items, and we do have an addendum.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by Mrs. Becker, second by Dr. Cohen. Is there any discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mrs. Chu?
Yes.
Dr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mrs. Lax?
Yes.
Mr. Philipchak?
Yes.
Mrs. Reese?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw? Mr.
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes, motion carries. I have a motion for our student services items,
So moved.
M1 through M3.
So moved.
Motion by Dr.
Second.
Cohen, second by Mrs. Becker. Is there any discussion? Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mrs. Chu?
Yes.
Dr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mrs. Lax?
Yes.
Mr. Philipchak?
Yes.
Mrs. Reese?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes, motion carries. May I have a motion for our transportation services items, N1 and N2?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Becker, second by Mrs. Shaw. Is there any discussion? All in, Ms.
Is it on the table?
Sure.
So, yes, this was, this is on the table as a handout. It was noted in the original agenda as the
That's
bid
the one
was
for
open today.
RPRY?
Yes, correct. I believe that's correct. And so, actually, it was the one for, it was the one for the St. Joe's Bishop R route. RPRY was previously not able to be provided services. So, St. Joe's, you'll recall that we had a parent come up to speak at the last board meeting, and it explained that the costs either were in excess of the maximum permitted cost per pupil, or there wasn't sufficient response to the bids. We did some research back to the Educational Services Commission on that particular bid. Transportation services were bid on May 18th, June 14th, July 19th by the Ed Services Commission. Each of those dates received no bid response from any contractor. On August 9th, the Educational Services received a bid response to a fourth bid now, and the low bidder was well in excess of the maximum. The maximum contract would have been, maximum permitted contract would have been approximately $27,400. The low bid came in at $44,370, well above. So for non-public services, that contract could not be awarded. As a result, the district, East Brunswick, we went out to bid in an attempt to secure transportation. The action on the table tonight is to reject the bids that were received. The bid was open today. The bidders were non-responsive. They did not submit the correct documentation. They didn't even submit the correct form for the particular bid. So there's nothing we can do about it. We have to reject.
All right.
So that's where we are on the Bishop R. I also provided to the board some information regarding RPRY. That contract is a similar situation where the costs well exceed the amount that we are permitted to contract for.
Is this a general problem that's been going on? Because I remember you were saying that our own bids were out of unusually high because of the same issue. So is this predictable, knowing that there's a maximum on what you can pay for those services?
The maximum, we've always had a maximum established by the state. By statute for non-public services, we cannot pay more than the amount that's permitted.
Yeah, but I just don't remember this problem before.
Well, we've had problems in the past on occasion, but the problem is greater now due to the fact that, twofold. One is we have a bus driver shortage, and that is a result of changes in licensing requirements for bus drivers and testing that's associated with that. The other issue that comes into play is what the enrollment is for the non-public schools. And the lower the enrollment and qualified individuals to receive transportation, the higher the individual cost will be. And so that works contrary to the interests of securing transportation for those folks.
And Mr. Giuliano, it's important to reference that this is actual enrollment, not anticipated enrollment.
Correct. The enrollment must be based on a count that has been certified and verified as of a particular point in time. So I know there's been some communication we've had with one of the schools where they've said, well, we're anticipating perhaps in another month or two, the enrollment will be more. We can't work off of that. We have to work off of the actual applications that the school provided to us from the parents, and from those, the individuals that are qualified to receive transportation services.
So if there's no contract and there's no busing service that we could provide per the requirements that we're held to, do we then issue to the parents the amount of money that we would normally pay, and they have to secure transportation on their own?
Yes, they receive aid in lieu of transportation.
How much is
Parents,
that?
it's $884
Split twice.
annually. It's a payment that they receive twice during the year, half at one point and half at another, because there's a midpoint during the year where we have to certify, or they have to certify,
Attendance.
and the school has to certify that they are continuing to enroll in their schools. So it's a two-payment process. In speaking with one of the schools, I did provide them what the low bidder information was that we had received. I gave them contact information for the contractor so that they could reach out on their own and attempt to secure transportation themselves and work through the
Okay.
payment process with parents.
Okay,
That seems to be the next step, is they would just take their aid in lieu and use it for what it's for.
right.
Mr. Giuliani, I just wanted to mention that the results of the bids were not even close. You even mentioned the idea of, being 27 to 44. It's not that it's, it's not even in the ballpark of even considering, correct?
Right, but even if it was $1 over, we couldn't do it. There's absolutely no leeway in the law to say, well, if it's close, you can do it. It's either you meet the requirement or you don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on N? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.